Put down the hammer, and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show, yeah. Real estate info galore, so listen up, don't miss it. Hosted by the Savvy Landlord, oh.
Brian Nix is not weak at all. He's like quiet thunder. He usually comes into a room, and a lot of people don't know him. You know, he's been around as a real estate investor for how long?
11 years.
I met Brian 11 years ago at least, at the RIA, and he's always been a very consistent, if you ever wonder about what the RIA was like 11 years ago or 15 years ago, it was an amazing place to go. This is what we're trying to create here, where you can go to a place and connect with other like-minded people, and they're willing to help you without charging you, without trying to give you something or take something, and Brian is that guy. Brian used to be very involved in that RIA, used to run a lot of roundtables, used to speak, and then the RIAs had changed and there are different motives. And through that process, I've stayed with Brian just as often as possible, done a bunch of wholesale deals with him. And then one thing that I admire, that he sticks to it and does it well. He's the only guy that I know that continues to have such great success in private money. And it's something that I learned about 7 years ago that I just think I couldn't do it. I didn't understand how it worked. And Brian's behind the scenes grinding it out, just building a wonderful portfolio for his family. And I can talk hours about him, but you're going to learn a lot about him today. And he's going to give us some tips on how to do it, right?
Yeah.
This is what's going to happen. And I'm honored to have Brian here speak, and his wife is here. I appreciate you coming. It's rare to have women, women, or women what? What? You know what I'm saying.
It's worse.
Damn, this is on the radio. All right, so.
Edit.
I don't edit anything. All right, so this is my wonderful friend, Brian Nix. Put your hands together.
Well, thanks for the kind introduction. I've learned a lot from Stephen. He truly has a teacher's heart, and I've got to know him personally and love spending time with him. So thanks for giving me the opportunity to come and speak a little bit about private money, which is something that I'm passionate about. I'll get in kind of as to how I discovered this and how it's evolved for me. But there's my contact information. That same slide will be at the very end. So if you want to write it down now or later, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll help you all that I can. Let's get this out of the way. It's my disclaimer. I'm not an attorney. I don't offer legal advice. This is for educational purposes only, so seek the help of the attorneys in the room. I know we've got a couple of them. Just a little bit about myself. 11 years ago, I had taken a job up in Tulsa. I was sitting in my lazy boy late one night, and I was flipping the channels, and there's an infomercial with this well-dressed gentleman with, you've probably seen it, the white dress shirt and the khaki slacks, talking about all the things you can do in real estate. And at the time, all I thought real estate was you buy a house, you get a loan, and you live in it. That's all I knew. And he was showing his students on there that, buy these houses for way under value, replace the shutters, paint the front door, plant a few flowers, and turn it for a $20,000 profit. Sounded great, right? So what it did was it opened my eyes as to what was possible. Oh, by the way, that was Carlton Sheets, if you want the blank filled in. I bought the program, $500, 30-day money-back guarantee. I was going to keep it for 29 days and send it back after I had gotten everything I could out of it, right? And anyway, long story short, I didn't send it back. It had cassettes at the time, and all kind of good stuff. And I went through that material 20 times, just learning everything I could about it. And so my wife and I tried to take that system and run with it. And so we were making offers on houses, had no support system. At the time, I wasn't aware of RIAs, the real estate groups. So we're making offers on houses. I think maybe we even had, during the evaluation process, we're making up our list of repairs, and I'm at work. I had a day job at the time, and she's going to Lowe's with our 1-year-old son at the time, literally going item by item and writing down. And we're trying to get this rehab cost down to the penny, which is laughable, right? But that was our introduction to real estate investing and what was possible. And I credit the Carlton Sheets program for that. Kicked the tires for 3 years, wrote offers. Fortunately, they didn't get accepted because they weren't good enough deals. I'm talking way not good enough deals.
You still make those offers?
Huh?
You still make those offers?
Well, only whenever I buy them from you. So kicked the tires, read every book I could, listened to every cassette tape I could, just to get every tool in my belt that I could. And again, did that for 3 years. Moved back home, which is Oklahoma City, and learned about the RIA clubs, started going, and that's when my first deal came along. Whenever I met two guys that recommended I do this deal, they kind of held my hand through it, and I figured, I didn't know, I just said yes, and we went on and did the deal. So now that happened. We were 7 months pregnant with our third child. So it was, I got let go from corporate America, and so it was sink or swim time. That was my why, so you had to go do something. Did a couple of deals. On my fourth deal, I discovered private money by chance. A guy had called me about selling me a house. I decided to buy it, and whenever I looked him up on the county records, he wasn't the owner of record. As it turns out, he was buying it on a contract for deed. So I had to contact the owner of record and get all the payoff info and everything. Got that done, and it was a really great experience. But I remember that person, that lady, and so on the next deal that I found that I wanted to buy, I called her up. I said, "Hey, you finance this guy? How about you finance this for me?" And she said yes. And a long story short is, we just went on and on and on and on, and we did several deals together. So that's how I kind of backed into it. At about the same time, I discovered some gurus that were talking about private money, and so I just started trying to learn all that I could. Had several negative bank funding experiences. No offense, bankers. And hey, we're all human, right? And several positive private money experiences, and so I just kind of gravitated toward it. Fast forward 11 years, completed over 250 transactions. I have about 90 single-family homes that I own, primarily with private money, and about $4.5 million that I've raised through the 11 years. So what I want to discuss today, what is private money? We won't spend a lot of time with that. You guys know what it is. Why? How to get private money, and then sources of private money. I'll tell you the kind of people that are loaning me money right now.
Those going to come with phone numbers, Brian?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good,
yeah.
good.
Yeah, bank statements. What is private money? Just for terminology purposes, we'll call it non-institutional money. Talking people, okay, relationships. The difference that I draw between hard money and private money, hard money, they have a program. These are professional lenders. They vary. They're all over the place, anywhere from 12 to 17%, 3 to 5 points. And I've used hard money before, and if that's what you need to do to get a deal done, don't hesitate. I mean, something of something's better than all of nothing, right? Mm-hmm. Private money, you set the terms. It's your program. And then as a rule of thumb, if you have to educate the prospective lender or the idea is foreign to them, then it's private money. Why private money? Quick closings. In the right situations with the right track record and the right relationship, I've been able to close deals the next day. That's doesn't happen all the time. It's got to be the right situation, but it can happen. Flexibility, obviously term, rate. Is it fully amortized? Is it a balloon loan? you have all this to play with. I've got some private lenders that will do a full year 10-year amortization. Some want a balloon, 3 to 5 years. Okay, my balloons are actually written to where it's an option to call it. So if nothing happens, I give them notice. Hey, it's coming up, just as a courtesy, because these are folks that, you know, they don't want to be messing with the day-to-day of loaning money, right? So, and if nothing happens, then it'll just renew for another 3, 5, whatever it is. Ease of transaction. There's no boards.
Hold on. What happened here? Did your thing go in sleep mode?
I
said no signal.
Oh, Tech Wizard. All right, let's just move it over here. Hold on, folks.
It's coffee time.
There we go. There you go. Please work.
There we go.
You gotta have faith. If you don't know about that, tell me. I'll tell you.
Good. Ease of transaction. No boards, no committees. One guy or gal, or maybe a husband and wife. So it can go really smooth. Unlimited funds. As much as you want to raise, as much as you can raise. This is how I get private money. First, establish credibility. I mean, that's pretty common sense, right? I do have a credibility kit that I developed. It has my resume, rental portfolio, before and after pictures of deals I've done, and I've also got a little graphic in there, and it's just a simple calculation of what I pay, and if you loan me X number, you'll make this much, and X number this much versus the 1% you might make on a CD or whatever it is. It's just a visual to kind of open their eyes to see how much they potentially are leaving on the table. They're asking themselves some questions about you, right? Can you do what you say you're going to do? We talked about that. Write a book, blog, anything you can do, just to establish yourself as a credible professional, right? You don't want to go to somebody asking for money, looking like you just dreamt this up last night, right? Doesn't bode very well. You have to build credibility any way you can. And the way I did it was I co-authored this book here, 6-7 years ago. And this has turned out to be a real nice credibility piece for me, a fancy business card. I'll get to it here in a little bit, but I've got one guy that read this book, and we've got about $500,000 with this guy. And it started here. So anything you can do. Doesn't have to be a book, but a blog, whatever. Know your program and keep it simple. Have clarity of mind, right? A confused mind says no. I learned that from Thomas Morgan. People tend to reject ideas that they don't understand. Okay? Everybody knows what an elevator pitch is. I have one. Very simple. But the key is that it's got to be something that would naturally come out of your mouth, right? Otherwise, you're going to get nervous and it's going to be awkward and everybody's uncomfortable, right? Mine is some variation depending on the situation. I do real estate deals, and instead of going to banks, I use people's money. I pay them a bunch of interest to use their money. And then the closing question, when I get a deal, is that something you'd like for me to call you about? Or would that be something you'd be interested in? I'm not a real big fan of canned pitches, right? Because it doesn't always fit. Okay, so I just like to talk to people. It's a relationship business anyway, and so once you have a conversation with these people, it'll come up. I mean, how often do you guys talk about the market's doing this or the market's doing that, or I'm looking for whatever? I mean, that's how most of my private lenders come online. It's just everyday conversations I have with people, and then I have an opportunity to tell them what I do and how I do it, and it goes from there. Yeah, I'll always be talking about your program. You never know when you'll have an opportunity to bring it up with somebody. These are not people that are, special in any way. These are normal, everyday folks that I borrow money from. Got a truck driver, retired person, couple of attorneys, an accountant, business owners, just everyday people. So this is the one. When I get a deal, you want me to give you a call. What I've seen before, and it's happened with myself, is I'll have a good conversation with somebody. You don't ask that closing question, so things are just kind of left undone, right? They expressed interest, but you don't ask this closing question, and so when you get a deal, you're asking yourself, should I call them? How do I reapproach them? Whatever. If you can gain agreement on this one here, then it leaves the door open, and then when that deal comes up, then you can give them a call. And then, to quote Will Rogers, never miss a good chance to shut up. Just key in negotiating, or in that last question, Will Rogers is a theme in our home right now with our kids. When you ask that question, be quiet. Wait for the answer. Don't get nervous and keep on talking. Whoever talks next loses. That's kind of how it goes. Wait for the yes. Sources of private money. Once you get rolling, once you have credibility, and everything becomes easier, right? It's like it falls from the sky. So watch this visual. Come on, baby. What's happening with my cool video here? Now, I don't know how much that has to do with my presentation, but that is cool. So I had to throw it in there, and I got to give props to Lee Smith in Indianapolis. I totally knocked that off from him. So, Lee, if you're listening, thank you, sir. So who's loaning me money? I told you already about the one that I bought. It was on a contract for deed, and that owner ended up loaning me money down the road. Good old seller financing. That's pretty straightforward. Real estate club contacts, people in the room like this. I've got multiple guys that have loaned me money. Some of them are sitting in the room today. Okay. A referral from a real estate club contact. Had one of my buddies from the club told me about a guy that loaned money, and then another guy I knew from the club, his dad ended up loaning me money. So they're everywhere. Family, that can be tricky. Friend. Had a lot of credibility with my friend, obviously. A lot of trust there. So, and by the way, I don't shy off from borrowing money from family and friends because I believe in what I'm doing. I'm willing to personally guarantee if that's what they want because I believe in what I'm doing. And if I'm not willing to sign on the line personally, then it helps me sleep at night. Not everybody does that. Nothing wrong with that. But that's how I choose to do it. My office neighbor. That was the guy that ended up loaning me money. Quick story with him, where he used to office next to me, and he's out in the front. In front of the office. We get talking one day, and he had told me before that he's a big reader, and he got talking, and he was griping about the stock market and this, that, and the other, and losing money or whatever. So I naturally brought it up, and I said, "Hey, this is what I do. This is how I do it. I borrow money from people, not banks." And oh, by the way, I've got a book. You ought to read it or whatever. And I gave him one. And I think I gave him my credibility kit as well. And he actually read it. And then he gets back with me. And then, long story short, the guys loaned me about $500,000, and so that was a pretty good one there.
How about your staff member you hired?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
I'll get to it, yeah. I have an attorney that loaned me money. This guy had called, or I had dealt with this guy. He was doing a probate deal, and I bought the house from his client. I'm sitting in his office one day, waiting to sign some document for him, and I mentioned it to him. And he said, yeah, I'd be interested in something like that. So the next time you get something, give me a call. And I did, and the guys loaned me money. Stephen was just asking about a girl that used to work for me, her dad. She was with me for 6 years. She knew my business in and out. She knew what opportunity we were offering to private investors, and so she talked her dad into loaning me money, and that's worked out real well.
So you put an ad on Craigslist to hire somebody.
Correct.
You hired this gal as an assistant. Mm-hmm. Then she saw that what you were doing, believed in the vision, went and told her dad, and then he started loaning you money.
That's right.
That's remarkable.
Yeah, multiple deals. Now that took a few years to get there. She was in my business, and we were doing a lot of deals, a lot of private money deals, and so yeah, she told her dad about it, and we're still going.
Brian, are you guaranteeing every loan personally?
Not all of them.
What
Some of them.
percentage are you guaranteeing?
Probably half. Yeah. I think my favorite is my wife's nail lady. Everyday people, you never know people's story, right? As it turns out, this lady has a bunch of oil and gas royalties, and she's looking for a return. And so, as I understand the story, she's getting her nails done, and everything is talked about in the nail salon, is what I understand, right? Ladies? Yeah.
Whoa, okay.
And by everything, I understand it's everything.
Oh,
anyway.
no. My wife ain't getting no nails. Cut that off. No offense. Cut that off.
She knew what I'm doing. She kind of knew that little elevator pitch that I mentioned earlier, and one way or the other, she worked it into the conversation, and the lady said, yeah, I'd be interested in something like that. And we've done several deals with her, and that's worked out so well. She told her dad, who happens to be an attorney just outside the metro area, and he's loaned me money along with his wife. So it just kind of goes from there. I mentioned, once you get going, once you establish that credibility, it just gets easier and easier. Your confidence obviously goes up, and you go from one deal to the next. Never prejudge. You never know. You never know. Okay? So, what are your private lender prospects thinking, if you have some? And if you don't have them yet, this is what they will be thinking. Okay, to quote Will Rogers again, I'm more concerned with the return of my money than the return on my money. Right? They're asking themselves a few questions. Can I trust you? You don't see that? I'll read them. Can I trust you? Are you credible? Do you know what you're doing? What's my return? And what's my risk? I thought that was interesting. I actually polled some of my private investors to get some real life feedback from them. And I'm going to share those here in a minute. But the return and the risk was lower down on the list. I thought that was interesting. So the two questions I asked, well, the first question, what was the most important question you had to answer for yourself before loaning money for real estate deals?
Say it again.
What was the most important question you had to answer for yourself before loaning money for real estate deals? And here's what I got. Quote, how well do I know and trust the person I am loaning money to? Return doesn't matter much if you can't ultimately trust the person on the other side of the transaction. Another guy, we've loaned the funds because we had the confidence that the borrower will not borrow funds that he's not capable of repaying, and because of his integrity. Therefore, we have loaned the funds because of our positive opinion of the borrower. I didn't pay for these answers. That's it. So you see a theme there, right? Other question I asked, what's the biggest reason or reasons you decided to loan me money for real estate deals? Same as the first question, back to the trust. But also the return is better than most places you can put your money, and real estate for the most part is a stable asset, and might I add, a hard asset. Okay, that means something. The equity in the assets securing the loans is not as important as the confidence in the borrower. Of course, the more favorable the interest rate being paid is also a consideration during the current low interest rate environment. So, just to kind of wrap it up, private money, it's your program, your rules, within reason, right? Develop your program. Figure it out what it is you're offering, how you want to communicate it, what you're going to communicate to your investors, and be ready to engage them in a conversation. Okay? Possibilities are endless. You know, long-term, short-term, flip, buy and hold, whatever you want to do. Always be prospecting. Find your spot and go for it. It'll come up, right? Know how you, when it does come up, know how you're going to pounce on it. Okay, naturally, not canned. Just deal with people, have a conversation with an agenda, but be authentic. You'll be amazed how easily the subject can come up. It comes up all the time. I don't think on any of those folks that I had borrowed money from, I don't think I cold called any of them. It all just kind of came up. Okay, it'll come up. So with that, you guys have any questions? Yes.
So when I tell people what I'm doing, they get really excited, and I've had people offer to finance my deals and stuff like that. What's the advantage of doing that? Because I would assume, but I shouldn't assume, but what's the advantage of going with private money over bank money if it's a lot less expensive?
The advantage? Well, like I mentioned, it can be quicker, easier. The underwriting is...
No qualifying.
What's that?
No qualify?
Yeah, there's no qualifying. They're buying you.
If you're doing like a line of credit, though, like where you have it as a portfolio loan, and you can just grab it as you need and it's like immediate, is there an advantage to... That's kind of what I'm trying to understand. Private versus...
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you already have a home equity line set up, is that what you're saying?
On my portfolio, I'm getting that set up.
Yeah. I mean, if you can move quick on that, then a bank loan would be good. I mean, obviously you're going to pay less interest on a bank loan. And to that point, how much you pay depends. 6, 8, 10, 12. Just whatever. I'm not real rate sensitive. I pay pretty high interest rate. I'm not real rate sensitive because I amortize them 10 years or less. So I'm trying to pay them off. That's my goal, is to get them paid off as quickly as I can. So.
What are your general terms?
Well, I pay 12%. That's what I pay. But again, I'm doing smaller rent houses usually, and so amortize them anywhere from 5 to 10 years. So I'm not too caught up on the interest rate.
Are they still cash flowing at 12?
Yeah, they still cash flow. Still cash flow.
And
also. With the idea that you're going to carry them with private money, and at some point you're going to go to the bank and get them refied and then start over. That's the nice thing about private money. You pay them back, then you go do them again.
My question to you is why you don't lower your rate as your success grows. What I did, I started out at 12%. I haven't paid more than 6 in 7, 8 years because I simply said, hey, if you want to get a higher rate, there's guys out there. But if you want me and my portfolio and my expertise, I pay 6.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could do that, could you not?
Yeah, I could. I don't know. Maybe
your bottom line.
Maybe I'm generous.
Business model.
But yeah, I mean, I could do that. Maybe I'm generous. I want to make it a no-brainer for them, and I try not to get too hung up on the bottom line and looking at what I am leaving on the table, because I know I'm leaving money on the table. But I don't know. It's a risk for them, although it's pretty low. And so, to answer your question, I don't know. Maybe it's aggressiveness. Maybe it's just I want my product to be a no-brainer, and so that's what I've done.
Brian, do you meet with people, like when you start this conversation? Do you meet with them in person? Is that normal, your motive, or do you do this over the phone, or can you give me some perspective on that?
Yeah, usually it's in person, but it's not necessarily a scheduled appointment. It's we're out in front of the office visiting, or I see them out in public, or we're at a function or whatever, just wherever those conversations might have. Very few, if any of these, have been a designated time and date, let's sit down and talk about private money. That's just not how I've done it.
Does it work in progression that way? You connect with them, you build a relationship, and then it progresses on. And walk us through that process.
Yeah, a lot of these folks I know already, or there's some sort of connection there, right? And so, it might be several times that I'm visiting with them and nothing ever comes up, but then one day it does, because our paths are crossing, right? And when it does, then I just tell them what I do and how I do it, and it kind of goes from there. And then if they expressed interest, then
you ask them?
Yeah, we'll just go to the next step.
Do you ask them for a range, or do you say, hey, I'm purchasing this property, would you like to be a part of that? How does that what's the next level conversation? I've connected with someone, I'm familiar that they have finances, they're willing to loan me money. What's the next question that you ask them?
You're talking about in terms of how much they have to loan?
Or I have a deal I want to close, I'm ready, let's get this on.
It's something along the lines of, hey, whenever I get a deal, you want me to give you a call.
Okay,
and
so you set that up.
Yeah, and then depending on how the conversation goes, you can say, all right, well, I usually do deals at this price range, or if I get a deal at this price, are you in?
Gauge
Are you good? Just kind of try to feel them out. And here's the other thing, is that once you learn what they can fund, there's always more, right?
Yes. Found money.
Yeah, that's right. Found money. They're testing you out. They're trying to figure out, can I trust you? Are you credible? Are you going to do what you say you can do? So,
you mentioned the word, I thought that was very ingenious. You say the word program. Mm-hmm. When you're selling, we're all selling, correct? Mm-hmm. But, some people are to say the word private money. You're saying I have a program. What are you, I understand personally because I do this all day, but how does that make them feel? Is that, because it seems like you've honed in on that one, kind of like, hey, I'm a hedge fund, we have this, index fund, Vanguard has 30 different funds. Mm-hmm. Is that what your motive is when you say the word program?
It's more just motivated by professionalism. Just, I want them to know that I know what I'm doing. I've done it before. This is what I offer. This is my package that I'm offering. This is my program.
I love that. Awesome. Put your hands, come on, guys. Come on. Come on. This is there's some nuggets here you guys are missing out on. Oh, the what? Oh, Reagan, go, girl.
Well, question and statement. I don't know if you set it up this way, but it seems when you're getting ready to have a house that you're paying off, mm-hmm. you want to find something else to go to that investor and say, hey, this money's getting ready to be available. Mm-hmm. Can I use it?
Right.
And have something already in the pipeline so you don't lose their money to somebody else.
Yeah, that's true. They've set aside funds that they want to work, right? They don't want it sitting in the bank. And so, yeah, absolutely. I'll let them know and try to put it back to work, for sure. Yeah.
Does that create you to try to find another deal quickly?
I'm always trying to find another deal.
Sure. But making a better offer or maybe a higher offer? Knowing that you have this money in your...
No, I don't want to do that. That's, you start getting reckless. And that's, I should go without saying, but I truly treat my investors' money better than my own. Mm-hmm. I take it very seriously. A couple of guys, I'm a really big part of their retirement plan. And that's a huge responsibility that I don't take lightly. And so, no, never do I get, antsy or impatient to make an offer that doesn't meet my criteria.
Awesome.
It sounds like, I'm wrong here, but it sounds like you're using the private money to you can get deals quickly, more than trying to wait on a bank to appraise it, give you approval, and get money that way. It's not like that's really what it's going to do for you, much like hard money. But then, I like what Reagan's question was about how you're keeping the money back into the next deal right away. So it sounds like sometimes you're paying them off early. That maybe in a couple of years you want to get it into a bank and then put the money somewhere else.
Yeah, and then you can just go back to them again and use private money for your acquisition money, and then your bank partner as the long-term debt partner that you have. But yeah, it does work pretty quickly. I mentioned earlier there's certain situations we can close the next day. Don't always do that, but you can. But and then also it's just the comfort in knowing that this person said they're going to do the deal. They've got the money set aside. We're going to do the deal. There's not going to be any surprises the week of, or you're not going to tell me that you could do the loan and now you can't do the loan. We're past that, and so I like that.
Yeah, on that note, Brian, you said you're cash flowing even with 12% at 5 to 10, and it sounds like your focus is more acquisition and then going to refinance. Do you have any where you're just letting them sit and roll through on cash? And if so, I don't. Like, what's the percentage there? Why would you do that? Advantages, anything like that you could share? I don't know.
Like I've let it pay all the way out on
Sure.
private money?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do. I've got several that have done that. They were on 5-6 year amortizations, and we just let it roll. We let it roll.
Any particular reason? Just
I like it. I mean, I like dealing with the people. Now, I didn't mention this. I do have bank loans, okay? So I'm not anti-bank. I don't hear me say that. I'm not. But I don't know. I prefer dealing with the people. It's a relationship business, and I mean, six years happen fast. So, we just paid them off like that.
Hey Brian, what does your credibility kit consist of? Is it all of your deals for 11 years, or is it specific transactions that give you most credibility so they can actually trust you?
Yeah, it's got it's got that big old picture that I showed you of the book that I did, and it's got my rental portfolio in there. It's got before and after pictures of deals that we did, like if it was a fix and flip, bought it for this, sold it for this, resume, certificates. What am I missing? I think that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brian, whose house is in the picture?
That's your house, Pat.
No, it's not my house. Believe me, that's not my house.
I don't know whose house that is.
I just thought it would be. I just wondered if it was yours.
It's not mine. Yes, sir.
How do you structure the guarantee the money against the house? Do you go like a mortgage route, or do you do a deed of trust, or?
Yeah, mortgage. We have note and mortgage, and then the other thing is, I mentioned that I treat them just like a bank. So note, first and only mortgage. We're doing the lost payee on the insurance, so we don't cut any corners there. As far as personally guaranteeing it, that's just written into the document where I either personally guarantee it or not.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
No more questions for Superstar, Bad Boy, Brian Nix. Put your hands together for Brian Nix.
Investor Weekend is not far off, with over 10 information sessions to increase your portfolio. Log on to www.investorweekend.com. Whether you are a seasoned investor or never purchased a property before, you don't want to miss the Investor Weekend. Join us for a powerful, knowledge-packed weekend with over 10 informational sessions that are bound to enlarge your real estate investments. You will hear from the best national and local real estate investors that will share practical and relevant experiences with you, the investor. There will be several networking sessions to connect with other like-minded people for potential funding, partnerships, and yes, hot deals. Go to www.investorweekend.com. Did you know we meet once a month for the Landlord Lunch meeting? The third Wednesday of every month. Go to landlordlunch.com.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at savvyradioshow.com. Connect on Twitter at LandlordBook and always be buying assets.